So our next scholar of next presenters, actually, finally, Sayyid Sabir Muhammad. Are you online? Are you listening?
Yes, sir, I'm on.
Mr. Sabir?
Yes, I'm online.
Okay, okay. So today the last presentation is Sayyid Sabir Muhammad. He belongs to Air University in Islamabad. His topic is normative equilibrium in the emerging global order, US Sino-US perception on multilateralism. He will cover the era 2013 to 2023. So floor to you, Mr. Sabir. So you have a presentation?
No, sir, I don't have any presentation.
Okay, please, please start your lecture, please.
First of all, thank you very much, Dr. Faisal Javaid, and thank you very much for the opportunity and congratulations on the effort to you carried out by bringing such diverse and distinguished mind together. Well, I will continue with the topics that have been discussed so far. I will start with this presumption that states establish a pattern of interaction in the international level. This pattern of interaction is a set of arrangements known as order in international politics and international relations. It is developed as a common practice, and its purpose is to establish a global international order. And this particular order always requires two types of equilibriums. The first one is physical equilibrium, that largely refers to the distribution of power among the major actors at the global level. And the second aspect is the normative equilibrium. That refers to the normative aspect of the order used to legitimize authority at the global level. Normative equilibrium refers to the stability of normative frameworks, which are sets of shared beliefs and values that shapes the behavior of the international actors in the international politics. So the function of normative equilibrium is to justify the hierarchical order established at the global level. Its functions is to authorize a particular group of actors to create, firstly, second, to disseminate, and to diffuse norms and socialize states in a normative aspect of the order. In order to maintain stability and order at the international level, it is necessary to have a balance between these two equilibria, the physical equilibrium and the normative equilibrium. The current scholarship in international relations primarily focused on this idea of hegemonic stability theory and largely questions the logic of hegemonic stability at the same time. Based on the hegemonic stability theory, one aspect or group believes that stability in the international system is dependent upon the ability of the dominant state or actor to establish a common set of norms, rules, and institutions. Now, those norms, rules, and institutions established by the greater power, and then their job becomes is the custodian of that order. So once an order is established at the global level, we will always have two set of actors. One, the custodian of the order. Second, the revisionist actor, those who tries to challenge the order. Current world order largely is the product of America and Western allies of the United States of America. Its job is to promote, disseminate, establish norms, rules, and institutions at the global level. Now, it is crucial to note that the maintenance of the dominant institutions persists even if the original hegemon loses its position of power. According to this particular argument, for example, if the United States of America at some point in time is no more a hegemonic power to establish those rules or norms at the international level, but the normative equilibrium shall function and shall maintain the system over time because it establishes such a pattern of interaction among the actors that it becomes useful to them to interact within the existing paradigm or parameters. Here I'm going to place China in the equation. If we bring People's Republic of China into the equation, China is currently living and working within this particular system established by the United States of America and her Western allies. On the other hand, there's a second group that believes in the cyclic nature of international politics. What do we mean by cyclic nature of international politics? According to them, stability in international politics works differently than the one presented by power transition theory. It believes that power transition is to be historically a repetitive pattern that becomes an inevitable occurrence when an incumbent hegemon, having the power over the rest of the actors in the system, is challenged by a rising power or state that aims to revise the existing order. Now, there must be a pretext for that, and that pretext is being the closing power gap within the incumbent hegemon, which is dissatisfied with the existing system, China, for example, and the revisionist come hegemonic intentions and aspirations of that particular state. Here, both great power, which establishes the system, and the state that wants to change the system, their claim rests on a simple logic of diplomatic recognition, which means that everyone must establish every other state on equitable terms. But the claims generate on a very different ground. For example, the established hegemon or power believes that the orderlessness of the system supports the rising power, which means that the United States of America primarily claims that it was because of her institutional stability, her international norms and rules established after the Second World War that provided China with the opportunity to develop in the first place. To focus on its domestic growth and economy, and now they're translating that or transforming that growth and stability into their military might and is challenging America in the global affairs. China, on the other hand, the rising power, develops a very different understanding of the exact same order. They believe that it is their capability, it is their ability that allows China, first of all, to exploit the resources available at the global level. And second, now being in that particular position, China requires to be a great power or a power to be reckoned at the global level. So on these two particular premises, two different normative approaches developed and two different normative approaches onto very fundamental argument of multilateralism. That multilateralism primarily is a principal approach to the international relations that involves cooperation and coordination among the major actors of the global level. These characteristics are based on a very simple logic. One is inclusivity, that all the actors or actors who are important at the global level must be included in important decisions or important matters of the global affairs. Second, that there must be cooperation among those actors at the global level. We can call it stability from above. That is that the greater actors or greater powers at the global level must be on the same page about an issue in global politics. For example, take the example of climate. The Paris Agreement is a classic example of this particular thought. If we go back and search the Paris Agreement, we will find a very similar understanding within the United States of America and China on the climate issue. So such particular arguments refer to that cooperation among greater actors on issues that could contribute to global politics. Third is institutionalization, which means that international order established at the global level shall work on the principle of formal institutions and organizations or treaties and agreements mutually arrived at. So we can take the example of WTO. The inclusion of China into WTO is an example of institutionalization of the norms. The norms of cooperation, the norms of trade agreement among actors to be part of something that contributes to the global peace and prosperity. Right? This particular argument, we can apply this argument to the Chinese effort to bring Saudi and Iran on a common ground through their mutual effort in order to bring peace and stability in the Middle Eastern region. Right? Fourth element is the rule-based order. What rule-based order means that rules, norms established once through mutual agreement, there must be an agreement among these actors to uphold those agreements in order to promote stability, predictability, and peace at the global level. Now, once I argued all these points, one point that is more important to be mentioned here is that when we talk about order, stability, equilibrium, normative or physical equilibrium, it does not rule out conflicts. So any order with these two particular elements, there will be conflicts, but those conflicts will not be, a threatening conflict in the sense that they will not change world order. So there will be no systemic war, the nature of great wars that once were fought, the First World War, the Second World War. So the systemic wars will not be there. So we can call it a conflict or violence will be controlled in nature. So furthermore, this particular ideas delve into the idea of norms diffusion of the constructivist school of thought. That once norms are formed, then norms are infused and diffused among the actors as well. China is a classic case study in this regard, that China basically do not respond to the international norms in the nature of the norms itself. But what China does is that it takes those norms and it tries to reshape those norms as their domestic experiences requires. So China basically uh, uh, domesticize the international norms and come up with their own understanding and explanation of it. The classic example of this is the white paper on Chinese concept of democracy and the Chinese concept of social contract, if we revisit those particular arguments. The Chinese concept of state capitalism in that particular regard. The Chinese concept of development and progress in that particular regard. So China and multilateralism approach it from a very different understanding of mutual coexistence, peaceful rise, and at the same time inclusivity in that. So China does not act or consider multilateralism as something that I'm the first among the equals. So China basically is an actor that tries to work on harmony of interests, and that harmony of interests then takes it to a very different understanding of world politics. So I will conclude with this particular argument that the multilateralism of the United States of America and multilateralism, or the normative understanding of the multilateralism of China, uh, needs to be revisited. And then, in order to have a peaceful world order, these ideas need to be diffused, and these norms need to be institutionalized, and that both can coexist and socialize in a particular attitudes, beliefs, and values that are conducive for global peace and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Syed Sabir. No doubt your examination of evolving perception of multilateralism by China and the US, in particular area, is both insightful and timely. Your analysis of how these shifts impact the normative frameworks governing international relations offer a deep understanding of the changing global order. The focus on normative equilibrium provides a valuable perspective on how these major powers interact with influence multilateral institution. This presentation is a fitting conclusion to our session, trying to gather the themes of power dynamics and international cooperation.